This lump of baked mud actually contains a living person. Now it has been turned into beggar's chicken by the African natives. In order to taste the ultimate freshness of roasted human flesh, the natives inserted bamboo tubes into the man's ears, nose, and throat. After the mud on his body hardened, they hoisted him onto a rack and then slowly rotated him like a suckling pig. But because the mud blocked most of the heat, the man would not die for a while. However, every breath of air he inhaled through the bamboo tubes scorched his lungs, leaving him unable to live or die, experiencing the longest and most despairing death. But what was worse was his companion. The natives pinned his limbs to the ground with stakes, lit a ring of fire in front of him, and then threw in an inland taipan snake. This snake is highly venomous, and with no way to escape the flames, its only target for attack was this desperate, motionless man before it. At this point, the male protagonist, who had been watching the whole scene, was already terrified out of his wits. He knew he would be next, but faced with those bloodthirsty African natives, he didn't even have a shred of will to resist left. In order to slowly toy with the male protagonist to death, the natives took him to an open clearing. The chief shot an arrow into the distance, and then signaled the male protagonist to run in the direction of the arrow. But before the male protagonist could even take a step, another black man nearby took a liking to the ring on his hand. When he couldn't pull it off, he tried to chop off the male protagonist's hand. Fortunately, the chief stopped him because in his eyes, the male protagonist was already prey within reach. There was no need to ruin such a good show for the sake of a mere ring. After all, wounded prey was much less fun to play with. The male protagonist, now set free, though his mind was a complete mess, and he had no idea why the natives had let him go, still ran for his life driven by sheer instinct. But his inner confusion and fear made him unable to stop looking back every few steps, and as the male protagonist ran beyond the arrow's range, the first native hunter suddenly gave chase. Although the male protagonist had gotten a head start and run quite far, he was ultimately no match for the natives, who had grown up running across the African savanna and adapted to the environment like wild beasts, so the distance between them quickly closed. But just when the male protagonist thought he was done for, unexpectedly, the overeager native threw his spear off target. Now the male protagonist immediately found an opportunity to fight back. Then he quickly picked up the native's gear and fled for his life again. Before long, a second native came roaring after him. However, when he saw his companion's corpse, he was instantly stunned.